It's another Google Hangout adventure. We're here. Good morning. It's Monday Momentum. We're here, and it's an hour later, so you have no excuse for not being here with us. This is Sarah Coolidge. I'm here in California, and I'm happy to say that it's 8 a.m. It's definitely light. For the last year, we've been doing this at 7 a.m. Pacific time. It's been a little challenge for me, and I'm getting a phone call from James right now. Figures, poor guy. So I want to say good morning to all of you. This is Monday Momentum. We are here to help you get your week started off in the right direction instead of maybe the wrong one. Monday morning is a good time to get going, as we are all solopreneurs and entrepreneurs running businesses from home. We know what it's like to be challenged by things like your kid is going to school and he needs his lunch made or his breakfast made, or there's laundry, or the dogs are needing a walk, and all sorts of things that can distract you from doing your business. When you go to work and have a job and a boss looking over your shoulder, those kinds of things tend to fall to the wayside. But when you're at your own house, it can be a little bit more of a challenge. So we get together every Monday morning to motivate each other and to motivate you. And the idea is starting your week out well with some good ideas and information so that you can rock the whole week and slide into home base on Friday feeling good about what you've done and having made some progress. So I will introduce have my two guest panelists, if they can, introduce themselves. James is having a little challenge. But Linda, why don't you talk for a minute? I'm going to see if I can get him on the phone and find out if I can be of any use to him at all.
Good morning. This is Linda Kay, and I am here in New Hampshire at a very decent hour, 11 a.m. on Monday morning. And you know, it's great to get up and to have something that's going to kickstart the day. Monday Momentum is something that it's a great thing to start the week with, and we really hope that more people are going to come in and participate. We know that, you know, folks are watching it after the fact. Not sure if the earlier hour was a detriment to some people, but now that we're posting it a little bit later, maybe we'll have more participation.
Yeah. So I want to challenge you, Linda. I don't see a lower third, and maybe you want to take.
No, I don't have a lower.
I don't know if Linda told you. Linda Kay, and she's in Vermont, right? New Hampshire. One of those two states that kind of go like this. I'm sorry. And so East Coast for her a little bit easier than it is for those of us on the West Coast, but that means she's been up and working for 3 or 4 hours. Our topic today is habit and the power of habit in your business, in your life, in your routines. For us, we have this Monday morning habit. We have one more regular guest, James McFadden. He's having some technical difficulties this morning that if you have worked with Hangouts before, you may have experienced as well. Hangouts are kind of fun. We like them because we can talk to each other, see each other, and we have all the advantages of being Google's favorite thing. Since Google is the one that's running the show, it helps us with search engine optimization. And the fact that it's all recorded afterwards into a nice YouTube video that we can then send out to people who are not up and able to watch us right now, those are all great benefits. But occasionally things are crazy as well. You can't get online, your camera doesn't work, for some reason you can't be heard. And I don't know what he's dealing with. Hopefully we'll be able to find out at some point, but we've all felt it at one time or another, right, Linda?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I know I've had my challenges getting into the Hangout before, but you know, starting off with one of the habits is we are establishing now to get in 30 minutes early to try and curb off some of these technical difficulties. And
yeah, that's just for us that are regular on the show, is that so that we can make sure that we are connected and that we know, you know, that it's all working. I've had times where I've slid right in at the minute that the show is going on the air, and that's not really fun. Hopefully that won't be an issue anymore now that we're doing this a little bit later in the day. So back to our topic, habits. The reason that this topic came up, at least for me, was I was reading this book, The Power of Habit. It's been around for a while, and it only landed in my life about a month ago. And just picked it up and started reading it last week and basically couldn't put it down. It was so interesting. Author Charles Duhigg, I don't know if you can see it, The Power of Habit. And some of the things that really struck me about this book is there's just so much interesting stuff out there now in brain science and what we're learning about how our brains work, because the whole dang organ has been a mystery forever. And people that work with it, neurologists and neurosurgeons and everything, they don't quite know ever what the brain's going to do when they work on it. They just sort of think they might know. We're getting better and better at it. And one of the basic ideas in this book, which is founded in science, is that we form habits to give our brain a break, basically. We have tons of information coming in all the time, visual, stuff we're hearing, stuff we're seeing, stuff we smell, taste, touch. All of that information has to be processed and dealt with in some way, and there's only one brain. And it's trying to keep us alive, it's trying to make sure our body's working, it's trying to make sure we eat, we don't get killed by a tiger or something. And, it evolved to take care of us in that way. And it can't handle all that information all the time. So what it does, it helps us do, is set up a habit. So the habit is brushing your teeth every day, maybe, or twice a day or 3 times a day, I don't know. And you don't have to think about it anymore after a while. Your body has done your brain has done all the decision making. It's put it all away. Okay, first you go to the bathroom, you pick up the brush, you maybe run it under the water first, you add the toothpaste. It's all that is just automatic, because it saves the brain time and energy so that it can deal with whatever else might be happening at the same time, where the power goes out, so now you have to think about that. If you're too busy brushing your teeth, you can't notice that, it might be a problem. So it's an energy saving device and a distraction saving device, and yet our lives are built out of habits. I mean, think about how many you might have already done today before you join this hangout. I mean, there's, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 the minute the alarm goes off, or maybe even before that. There's a habit. So how do we get a handle on those habits and make sure they're serving us? Because once in a while, we develop a habit that's not so great. Have you ever seen anything like that, Linda? Can you talk about that a little bit? It's maybe a habit that wasn't so great for you or for someone else, not a deadly one, I hope, but something that, you wished you could change and struggled with changing?
There are so many things that I wish I could change there.
Now, come on, don't beat yourself up.
But
you have changed.
It's interesting how you talk about, the steps that go into brushing your teeth and doing all this other stuff. One of the first courses in programming that I ever took really made us think about that. What is involved in the, get out of bed routine, get yourself ready for work routine. And it's just phenomenal how many things that we are actually storing that we don't think about. And good habits or bad habits, a lot of the bad habits that we have, we are not even aware of. Mm-hmm. So it's just so incredible how programmed we become to certain things.
I love that analogy. I took a programming class a gazillion years ago, and sometimes wish I'd taken more and gone into computer science. But yeah, the amount of detail that we don't think of when you want to break it all down into little steps so you can tell a machine how to do it, and it's mind-boggling. And yet, our mind is dealing with that all the time, and that's what habits are about. And I think it's really cool when you look at them that way. But then, of course, the challenge is, are they all serving you? And the first step is awareness, like you said. What am I doing that is just a habit? And that's the other things that come into this book. There's a lot of neuroscience. They're talking about, for instance, what happens when the part of your brain where the habits generally kind of live is damaged, and how then all of a sudden you can't do the basic stuff anymore. You have to relearn it over and over again because the habit's not there for you. And that's interesting stuff and sad, and I'm glad I don't have to deal with it. But also, how do you recognize the habit, and then how do you change it if you want to? Because there's some habits that we would like to change. And for me, one of them was drinking Diet Coke. And they say that Diet Coke is a hard habit to break. I mean, I've had people say it's like an addiction, and I don't know, define addiction. That's a whole nother topic. But for me, drinking Diet Coke, it was like this daily thing. Every day after lunch, usually, there would be the instant need, desire, craving. Okay, I need a piece of chocolate, and I need my Diet Coke. And I did not believe for probably 20 years of drinking Diet Coke that it was good for me, and in fact believed that it was probably bad for me, and yet I kept doing it. And so there's this loop you get in. There's some kind of stimulus, which for me was every day after lunch. This craving would appear, and then the thing that you do, the activity that you then take to make that stimulus or that craving go away, so you feel better. And so for me, I would, be after lunch, I'd get that feeling, I'd go get the Diet Coke and drink like 2 sips by the end. I didn't even like it anymore, but I'd do it, and then I would feel better. And the science about changing habits is not to make them just go away, but to change that middle piece. So the craving still appears. After lunch, I feel like I deserve a pick-me-up, or I just want a little break of some kind. That craving is still there, but the activity that you do, you change it. And so you get the same result. I feel better, I feel relief, I feel like I've treated myself. But the thing in here is different. And so the habit never really goes away. It's just you substitute something new in here. And of course you can think of cigarette smokers. They want to quit smoking, they get the craving, whatever it's about, and instead of smoking a cigarette, they chew a piece of gum, Nicorette. And they're still doing that habit, and they're still getting the stimulus or the craving, and they're still getting the result, which is feeling better or feeling relief. But in between, they're doing something different that they're changing it for something better, we hope, healthy. I mean, obviously, you could go the other direction. I could say I'm going to have 6 Cokes and not just chocolate, but Cheetos too. But that wasn't the plan. So have you ever felt like there's habits that we participate in terms of our businesses that we could look at more seriously? What are some of the habits? I mean, I feel like Monday Momentum is a great habit. And it's still there for me, no matter how challenging the Google Hangouts are and everything else. It really is a nice weekly ritual to get up and running. Are there other ones in your business, Linda?
Well, I think the biggest negative habit that happens to me especially, but a lot of people, is the habit of procrastination. We know we need to do all these things. We know we need to be on top of it. And for some reason, we find excuses to do everything else. It is a very bad habit to take care of little things that are not a priority, just to make yourself maybe feel busy or to avoid discomfort. Maybe you're not comfortable picking up that phone and calling that client. Maybe, you've got this thing about paperwork and that you've got to invoice clients, but you just don't want to do it. You keep putting these things off. So I'd like to know if the book has all the answers for that, Sarah. So when I'm procrastinating, how do I change that habit?
Well, I think that's a great example. And there's a couple things that I would pull out of it. Not that I'm the expert on habits at this point in my life, just because I read one book. But if you feel like that's a habit, like you said a minute ago, then identifying when it appears is kind of the first step. So I wrote down a few things that, maybe the reason that some things are not getting done is because you're trying to avoid the discomfort, is what you said. I don't want to feel that, so I'm not going to do that. And it's sort of an anti-habit. And so some of the techniques for dealing with that is number one, delegate it if you can and just don't do it, but still make sure it gets done, whatever it is, because there are things that we aren't good at. And, if you can get someone else to do them for you and they still get done, that's fine. Another one is blocking out some time that I will do that no matter what. That I hate balancing my checkbook, but it needs to get done. So there's only 1 hour that I'm going to spend on this, and this is the hour, and then I'll get through it and get it done. But a habit of procrastination, I think, is more about, the feeling the discomfort of, I want to feel good about myself right now for whatever reason. And this thing over here I could do it, but I don't feel like I'm very good at it. I don't feel like I'm going to enjoy it. It's a big, giant project that's going to take a long time. And if I go over here and do the laundry real quick, that's going to feel like I got something done. And that's the feeling I want. The feeling of success, the feeling of achievement, the feeling of, crossing something off the list. And so there's a need to really identify if that's the feeling, what routine can I substitute in there to give myself that feeling and still deal with these needs of my business? And, does that mean, yes, instead of this, I'm going to go and do 5 calls and then I'll let myself do the laundry. It's really interesting stuff because you spend a lot of the initial time, number one, identifying the habit, and if procrastination is the one you want to pick, then you need, according to this, to spend some time over, say, the next week, really paying attention to when does it show up and how am I feeling and what did I do and how did I feel after I did that, and just analyzing it for a while before you decide what kind of action you want to take to try to substitute for it or what kind of change you want to make. There was an example in here of a young woman who chewed her fingernails, and she she chewed them so much that they were like didn't even have fingernails anymore. Basically, it was pretty bad, and she'd been doing it for 20 years, and she tried a gazillion different things to make it better. And when she went through the process with the docs of, okay, what is the feeling you have right before you start chewing your fingernails? What's going on there? And for her, it was a little bit bored, a need for a little bit of activity of some kind. And then, once she actually got one finger kind of in her mouth, then she described how she had to go through every single one at that point, and that it didn't feel better until they were all done. And then she had this sense of accomplishment because she cleaned up all the little ragged whatevers, and she knew that she didn't like it, but that was how it felt. So she really analyzed it with them. And then the way that they addressed it was, okay, so when you got that feeling, what could we do instead? And she came up with some ideas, and they were really simple. Like, you're a little bit bored and you're needing a little stimulation. So all she did was sort of slap herself on her leg and put her hand in her pocket. And she just tried substituting that. And that was all it took. But the work was identifying the feeling that she was seeking and how it, got started to begin with. So take this week to analyze it. And if you want, Linda, next Monday I can say, hey, what's going on with that procrastination thing? Did you find anything out? But it may not be a habit that you personally feel like you have. I know it's definitely one, and that was the question. It's one that impacts business activities. And for all of us that don't have a boss cracking the whip, it's a pretty powerful one that we need to get a grip on if we have it. So has there been any habits that you have changed around your business that you feel like, wow, that was a really good thing that I did, and getting a handle on that?
Yeah, I think one of the best habits that I changed is, and I've mentioned it on a Hangout before, is really only planning 80% or less of my day, because interruptions happen. And if you have a full calendar, where on earth are you going to fit in the time to take care of something that might be important? And we could, go through the quadrants of, what's urgent, what's important, whatever it is. But when you've planned 100% of your day, it doesn't leave you a lot of time to pull in some things that you could, head off the bud right away. Get things taken care of so that they're not an issue and you don't have to do them another day and they don't get put on that list of procrastination.
So did you used to have a tendency to just try to pack?
I would think, a woman, like if the to-do list that's this big and I'm just going to knock off everything on my to-do list and, there's no time for anything else, and it doesn't work that way. You can't possibly plan your whole day because it's not going to work.
And
did you, breathing room.
Do you actually look at your calendar or your scheduling mechanism, whatever it is, and block out, okay, I'm going to work 10 hours a day, let's say, but only 8 of them I'm going to put for work, and the other two I'm just leaving open to absorb whatever appears. Is that what you actually do, or?
I have come in and out of that, yes, Sarah.
Okay, so sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. And when you do, it sounds like you found that it works better for you.
Right. And I think the important thing is really identifying all the things that you need to do. Everybody says, oh, I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. It's because we haven't planned it in.
Mm-hmm.
When you book your whole day with work things, and especially if you work from home and you need to take care of that laundry, you need to do whatever it is that needs to be done, all of a sudden the sun shines and you got to go out and rake those leaves or do something just for distraction. If you've got it built into your calendar, that's okay.
So the habit of planning versus just having it go willy-nilly, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I've had really good success with that as well in terms of planning exercise, that it's on the calendar as part of my life. It's not like something separate. And I think that this is not so much about habits, but business in general. When we don't separate, this is my business world here, and then this is my family, and then this is me. But say, this is my life. I feel like I do better because your business needs to reflect who you are and vice versa, or it's not an authentic business that's going to sustain you or last long because you're not in integrity when you're actually active within it. And so learning to see your whole life as valuable, and that, exercising regularly, taking care of my health actually does impact my business. It's part of what keeps me able to do it. It's a smart way of looking at things, and planning your day versus not planning it. You're much more likely to get those top priorities done and being able to let some things go till tomorrow. So I like that one. And I think if we have viewers and listeners who are not planning their day, that's a good thing to start looking at it. And now that we have these, I still really like paper, but I'm getting better and better and better at putting my life into this. And it really helps. You get things done. Get it on the calendar. You're much more likely to get it done. So,
and it's that audible reminder too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could be doing something and you could be entranced in it, and all of a sudden your cell phone vibrates or buzzes or whatever it happens to do, and it's like, now all of a sudden I'm aware that it's time to shift into something else that needs to happen. And I think it's all about balance. Whether you're in the middle of something and you're lost on work things, yet you're neglecting, it's time to go take a lunch break. It's time to, I think one of the worst things that we do is we sit at our desk for hours on end and we don't get up. It's so bad for our backs.
So that's a habit as well for you.
Absolutely.
It's not a habit for me at this point. I do definitely sit longer than my body wants me to. Pretty much all of us do. We're not designed to be sitting all the time. But it sounds like beginning a habit of getting yourself up and out of your chair to do something different might be something that would feel better. And an alarm is a great way to remind you. Setting up systems of any kind can also really help, especially when you're first beginning to change the habit. So there are definite systems that I am using more and more and know and can see the impact of, just the routine of how we're doing this hangout. Every Monday, we have the hangout and then decide the topic, and then I make the ad and then I post it. And, it's a routine that is easier and easier versus the same thing, the willy-nilly.
The other thing I do, you're frozen, so I don't know if I'm interrupting you or not.
I'm not. Now you are. So, Nana, it's Google Hangouts. Now we're not frozen.
But, planning to do something for an hour, but really only planning it for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Give yourself that 10-minute buffer, to give yourself that bio break, to, answer that quick phone call, whatever it happens to be. If you're not planning 100% of that hour, it's going to give you the time to do that. And by chunking things into smaller 1-hour chunks, I think it's easier to take care of making those phone calls or, invoicing those clients or doing that task that you don't necessarily want to do if you're assigning them into smaller chunks.
Well, and that's another use for the phone or the alarm on the phone. I use it all the time, especially with those kinds of activities. Or sometimes the activity is, I know I need to write. I need to write a blog post. I need to get some writing done. Writing to me feels really vague, and therefore it's kind of easy to put off. But just like taxes, they don't feel vague, they just feel miserable. So they're easy to put off. If you set this up for 50 minutes, like you said, I'm just gonna, for 50 minutes, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna look at my emails. I'm not gonna answer the phone. I'm gonna have, I'm just gonna make myself do this for 50 minutes. You get, number one, a lot of work done. And often, for me, what happens is I just keep working after the 50 minutes. Now, not necessarily for another 50, but for another chunk of time, because there tends to be, even if you were going to get up and go, a little bit of sort of putting it away and closing it down that you need to do with those kinds of projects. You can't just, or you can, but it's messy, get up and walk away from the desk and just leave it the way, unless you like to be a slob, which that's another habit I'm working on. So, this is a great way to work at those things piecemeal, to get going on them an hour at a time. And after you've done that a few times, the project is done. And so I highly recommend just putting it on your phone for 50 minutes and seeing what you can get done in that amount of time. And if we did that every day, if we spent 50 minutes every day doing those things that we identify as our procrastination points, I want to challenge you now. Do you want to take a challenge? What if we did that, just you and me? What if we did that for the next week, and then we talk about it next Monday? If we could commit an hour or 50 minutes every day that we're going to spend on some of those sticking points, and then celebrate next Monday what we learned and what successes came out of it, or what challenges we ran into, because, I'll promise you, if I don't do it, I'll tell you I didn't do it. And then we can talk about that. You can crack a whip over me. But, I'm up for it, because there are things that I want to move forward on that I tend to put off, just like you said. And they're not always around business. So I'm game if you are. And, we've got a few viewers that might want to tune in next week to see how we did. So we're just about out of time. Any other habit stories that you've thought of, things that you've seen maybe in your life, people that have changed habits, that have made remarkable, there are people that give up. Some amazing lifelong, I've got a friend who I've known for years and years and years, who made a decision that she wasn't going to be using a certain substance anymore. And her life is completely transformed. And it's so wonderful to watch that and be around that and see that happen. And people do it. You can do it. And finding techniques and ideas and systems to help goes a long way. But often what happens is you change one habit, say you decided to lose some weight, and then all of a sudden you begin exercising, and then you begin taking vitamins and eating more vegetables, because it's amazing the sort of snowball effect it can have. And I'm sure in business as well, you follow up more, and then you get more customers, and then when you have more customers, then you have more money. More money, then you can hire people to take care of those customers. And that's the idea. Those are good habits we want. So how about signing off for us, Linda, adding anything else you'd like, and then I'll close her down.
All right. Well, I am Linda Kay. One of my websites is lindakay.com. And I actually did implement a new habit this weekend, which was taking care of some of my own websites. We talked last week about Google's Mobilegeddon, where if your website's not great on a smartphone, you're going to start tanking in rankings. Well, I updated one of my websites this weekend. So it's one of those things that I tell people what they should be doing with their website, and I had not been following through on my own. So I'm excited that my Optimize for Mobile website squared away this weekend.
So I'm giving you a high five.
But
Whammo, whammo. Good for you. You took care of your own business instead of taking care of someone else's.
absolutely.
Great. And I love it. So you are no longer tanking in the ranking. That's great. I love it. And thank you very much. And if people want to reach you, it's at lindak.com. Linda is a website queen. If you need your website worked on or you need one built, you should contact her. So I'm Sarah Coolidge. You can find me at ceospacewest.com. At CEO Space, we help you grow your business, move it faster from where it is right now to where you want it to be. We close that gap quicker and cheaper. So check it out if you have a big business project that you're trying to move forward. And when I say big, I mean big for you. It doesn't mean that it needs to be a big, big business, just your big project. Check it out and contact us. And we want to see you again here next week, next Monday morning. No more excuses. You can
Make it a habit.
And please also check out our YouTube channel, Monday Momentum. We'll see you later. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Then done.